Hey guys, we have a great episode of the Gentlemanly Things ahead of us today. I'm really excited to jump in and take a couple of quotes that I love from this industry and just use them to get into some discussion. We're going to uncover things that deal with confidence. A lot of this just comes back to how you feel confident and what confidence can do for you. And I love where the discussion ended up going. So I'm excited to share that with you. Among a couple other things, I think you're really going to enjoy this episode, and I hope that it gets your head thinking in ways differently than you might have before about the way you put yourself together and present every day. That being said, I'm your host, Brian Lipstein. This is the Gentlemanly Things. It's not a show about how to be a gentleman, but it's about the art of living like one. Enjoy this conversation. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Gentlemanly Things. I'm so excited to just jump in this week with a great episode and discussion that I have planned for you guys. But first, I want to just say thank you again to Bruce Phillips. What a wonderful episode we had that really spanned the last 2 weeks. He really shared incredible insight behind the history of Napa Valley, the evolution of Napa Valley, and then what we think Napa Valley is going to look like as it continues to evolve. Bruce, I watched the conversation multiple times myself, and I'm still really just absorbing everything that was shared by it. So if you guys missed that episode, definitely go back, watch the previous 2 episodes that aired, and check out what Bruce had to share with us. But today I want to jump in, and as I have been doing with recent episodes, I want to share a little bit about the story of the jacket I have on. This jacket came from the mill Skabal. And this was a fabric that I purchased on an end length cut, which, if you're familiar with that in our industry, is as the roll gets lower and there's maybe not a lot to sell, the mills will offer special deals. And so every so often they'll come around and offer that to us. So I try to pick up things for clients that I think they'll like and be able to get some special pricing for them. But this one I really loved. And so I bought it. And as happens, there's a quote, and you're going to hear about a lot of quotes today because that really is kind of the theme of our episode. But there's a quote that says, "The tailor wears the rags." And in my case, that really is true. The idea, a similar quote that goes with that is, "The cobbler's kid has no shoes." The idea is that we are always so busy working on garments for our clients that we often don't take care of ourselves. And so this was a fabric that I probably bought about 2 or 3 years before I actually made the jacket up. And what I found to make myself really take care of my own wardrobe, sometimes I will often do this in a combination of visiting the tailor shop, where I'll go up to Rochester where our stuff is made and work with the team at the tailor shop in an environment where I am removed from my day-to-day to be able to make my clothing. So this was sitting on the shelf for a while, but as I've been sharing, each of my jackets has their own theme or name to them. The name label on this one, if you can see here, is "Wild and Free, Just Like the Sea." And it really was because I picked this fun lining for the inside, which is a sailing boat and a team and a crew competitively sailing. And so really giving an ode and an homage to the design of the color that worked for the lining to match the jacket, and just an idea and a concept of it's fun to be wild and free, just like the sea. There's certainly no taming the sea, but we're going to get into some of how that ties into today's discussion as well as we progress. As I mentioned, today's episode is going to be inspired by a bunch of quotes. And over the years, there's been a bunch of quotes in my industry that always make me think, and I've enjoyed sharing them with clients as we get into our discussion to help them kind of start to think about the way they present themselves or the way they dress or the clothing in their wardrobe a little bit differently than maybe they have before the conversation we had. If you go back to one of the earlier episodes at the beginning of the show, when I shared our core values, you'll remember that each of the core values had at least one quote, sometimes 2 or 3 quotes tied to it. And I shared during the evolution of that that we really had to pare it down to those quotes. But the idea of a quote always makes me think of things a little bit differently, or cements an idea home for me when somebody else has said something, whether they're a celebrity and an impactful person or somebody you probably have never heard of. Just hearing somebody else's thoughts that have been repeated time and time again to become known quotes out in our universe really kind of make my brain think. So I wanted to bring some of my favorites to you guys today and just make a discussion around it. One of my favorite quotes is the quote that says, "A man in a well-tailored suit to a woman is like a woman in lingerie to a man." And I want to start with this, guys, because so many times I've been out in public. I've heard women comment. I've heard men comment. But you'll see a couple walking by headed to dinner on a Friday night, and the woman is all dolled up. Her makeup's done. She looks great in her clothes. She's got on a great pair of shoes, whether that's heels or boots, depending on the season. And then you see this guy walking with her who's clearly her partner, and it looks like he just rolled out of bed, or it looks like he could care less. Kind of makes you scratch your head wondering, okay, why is she with him? What does she see in him? He must be smart. Maybe there's something else going on. It also is like, couldn't you put a little bit of effort in, my man? I think guys just don't realize this, that they actually are leaving energy on the table with this. And when it comes to dating, when it comes to the male-female relationship and attraction, I've said this quote to women many times over the years, and I always get this response of like, "Oh yeah, right? Yeah, that's true. I love a guy in a well-tailored suit." You guys, certainly most guys, probably appreciate when a woman wears something special for you. This is a way that you're being thoughtful for her and that you're showing up and that you care, right? And so it's kind of funny where this is going to go, because when I hear this quote and when I talk to guys about this, it actually takes me all the way back to the start of when I started Henry Davidsen. I didn't know much, and I always wanted to make myself better. If you recall, one of our core values is be learned. But in the very beginning of starting this business, I had some sales background, and I shared a little bit about that story of how I got into this. I decided that I should go to sales training. If you've ever been to sales training in your career or been to any classes about selling, one of the key components of selling is understanding how to give a 30-second commercial. And so we would go through this exercise every class so that we were practicing. We had class every week, and we would give a 30-second commercial. And one of the key foundations of giving the 30-second commercial is to talk to the pain that you might solve for somebody. And when it comes to the pain of menswear, custom menswear, I used to say, oh, well, we really work with guys who are annoyed by having to shop. They just get frustrated and confused when they have to put an outfit together. They don't know how to make those combinations, or they might be just tired of the clothing or tired of looking like the guy next to them in their office because everybody's shopping at the same place, right? So that's speaking to the pain. And I would practice that over and over and over again. And one class, my sales trainer, it was a father and a son. The son was quiet and reserved. The father had a whole career really doing sales, and he was very direct and to the point. So really interesting to see the personalities balance each other there. But the father one time stopped me and said, "Brian, stop. What do you do? Do it again." Right. And I went in, I solved this pain 1, pain 2, pain 3. He said, "No, stop." He said, "Brian, really simple. What you do is the sex and money show." I said, "Okay." Huh? He said, "People are going to come see you because they want to get paid or they want to get laid." I said, "Well, that's an interesting way of putting it, but ultimately true, right? If we're talking about image and professional image and brand development and personal brand development on the corporate side, you're doing that for yourself because you want to get a promotion. You want to close the deal more quickly. You want to get the job. You want to have influence over your team and show that you're a good leader. All these different elements of image that we've talked about in previous episodes on the corporate side, but we haven't talked much on the social side. And so right? The get paid made sense, and that was really my focus. But the get laid was a piece that I hadn't maybe thought much about. When I found this quote of a well-dressed man in a suit to a woman is like a woman in lingerie to a man, it took me back to this sales trainer and his kind of tongue-in-cheek way of really hitting home quickly in a way that catches somebody's attention for ultimately why somebody might come and work with us. So guys, please put some effort in, right? The ladies put effort in for us. I can't tell you how much they appreciate when you put the effort in for them. And it needs to be said. I have seen too many guys that once I encourage them and they start to do this, come back and give us the feedback of, you know what? Yeah, it worked. Things got a little bit more exciting again when they've maybe been a little bit stale with their partner. When the guys come in with their wives, I often joke as the guys are getting changed for the first time trying on their suit, I'll often tell the wife, like kind of on the side, like, hey, get your baseball bat ready. And she's like, what? I say, yeah, get your baseball bat ready because all the other women are going to be after your man now. And she laughs a little bit, but she's like, yeah, no. And then he comes out dressed up and, you know, all of a sudden I can see her smiling. I can see him smiling in the mirror. The whole effect of what having well-tailored clothing does for somebody starts to just come to life right there in that room, not only for the wearer, but for the audience as well, in their loved one, their spouse, their partner, even friends. I've seen it with friends in the room that have come maybe for a groomsman fitting with the guy getting married, and all of them are really just kind of shining about how they feel, how they look, and then seeing the personality change of the person coming out of that fitting room as well. So just something fun. I wanted to bring it up. I wanted to put it out there, guys. If you aren't thinking about this, or if you're not thinking about how you present yourself, whether it's professionally or socially, you're leaving something on the table. You're either not getting paid as much as you could be, or you're not getting laid as much as you could be. And I don't think anybody's going to complain about having more of either of those situations. Take that for what you want. It's verified by women. So guys, tagging on to what we were just talking about, showing up for your lady the right way. There's another quote or a couple quotes that all kind of go together that I want to talk about. And the first one says that confidence is greater than good looks. Confidence has more impact in how somebody's going to perceive you than being seen as good looking, handsome, beautiful, whatever it might be. That just goes such a long way in how we show up to the world and how other people perceive us and the interactions that we carry ourselves through. Confidence is greater than good looks. But the other follow up to that I really love is confidence never goes out of fashion. And if you listened to a previous episode when we talked about fashion versus style and what the difference of that is, you'll understand as fashions go up and down like this and style remains more consistent, everything goes out of fashion, but confidence never does. And I just think that makes you think about the impact and power that confidence has. It's not style, because style is internal out reflection of personality. Confidence is just confidence, and confidence looks good on everyone. Confidence is greater than good looks, and confidence never goes out of fashion. So when we talk about confidence, what goes into your confidence? What goes into creating confidence for you? There's a lot of different things that somebody's going to perceive in you when you show up that is going to make them think that you're a confident person. The first, obviously, is the way you present yourself. Do you have clothing on that fits you well? Do you have clothing on that works with your skin tone? Do you have clothing on that reflects your personality in an authentic way? One of the things that we kind of read subconsciously when we see people is, does the personality come through the clothing? And if you don't know how to design clothing, or how clothing is designed to match personality, or how to buy clothing that's already made, maybe that matches your personality, that's an area that is certainly going to make you feel less confident, as opposed to imagine working with somebody like myself, who is a certified image consultant, who is going to dig into all the parts of your life, the interactions that you have, whether you're talking about social or business, and then also talk about your preferences. When you go out, do you like to drink beer, wine, whiskey, or are you non-alcoholic? Are you soda, or do you like mocktails? When you go out, do you go to a rock and roll concert, or do you go to the orchestra? Or do you go see Broadway plays? Right? When you go out, do you go to sporting events? If so, what sporting events do you like to go to? Do you like to watch them on TV? Do you like to see them live? What is your ritual if you're going to a live game? Do you always show up at 8 a.m. for the 8 p.m. game and tailgate all day long? Or do you show up right before game time and just go right to your seat, right? All of these factors give me insight into your personality. And when we design clothing, we are going to take all of those different factors, and that's just a small subset. But we're going to take all of those different factors into account and really put that into the line and design, the color and the pattern of the garments we're designing, along with building the wardrobe strategically so that it provides the most use out of the pieces you have, especially when we talk about capsule wardrobing. Showing up authentically dressed, showing up with clothing that represents you authentically is going to be a key piece of confidence. I know not everybody can work with a custom tailor. If you are going to buy off the rack, you're going to be beholden to what the fashion trend is of the time. It may not match your personality. If you're struggling with that, certainly leave a comment. I'd be happy to provide some other ideas of maybe how you can solve for the clothing and start to feel more confident in the clothing you wear. Beyond clothing, simply just showing up with a smile. A smile makes everybody feel welcome. It makes other people feel warm, right? And I've read another quote, a smile looks good on everybody. If you're smiling and you're happy, it makes other people feel like everything is great, everything's okay, you're approachable, you're open, you're warm, you're welcoming. It makes them feel more comfortable. It's a sign of confidence for you if you can show up with that smile. So I don't always smile, and I oftentimes have to be conscious of this. And I will often remind myself when I'm in a situation, okay, I'm having a conversation, I'm really focused. So I might have more of a stern look on my face, but I catch myself and I'm like, okay, just smile. Because it's going to make them feel more comfortable and it shows that you have more confidence. Remembering to smile, it's not natural for everybody. It's certainly not natural for me unless I'm at ease in a conversation. But sometimes when I'm really focused, I have to remind myself, smile, because that confidence will come across. It's going to make my clients feel more comfortable when they're working with me. And I want them to feel that way because I want them to be open and I need them to share all those details we were just talking about. The EO session I just attended recently at our East Coast Regional Conference back in September for Nerve, we called it. I've talked about that in a previous episode as well. There was a session I sat in that brought this to my attention. And one of the questions that was asked in the session is, what are you leaking to your team? Think about that. What are you leaking? That question I probably hadn't really ever thought about. But there's a book and it's on my list for this quarter. I'm going to read. It's called Primal Leadership. And I'm so excited to get into that book and really start to understand the nuance and the ins and outs of how we read in each other. And the synopsis that I understand from the presentation that really made me want to read the book goes all the way back to caveman days when the saber-toothed tiger was approaching them. If one was in the lead and started to feel afraid, the others around them could sense that fear. And that fear led to protection, right? It's the amygdala and the fight or flight response that our brain has had for thousands and thousands of years of survival. We'd be able to actually feel from other people what they're sensing, what their emotions were, because we leak that out. We don't just always know what's going on, but it's there. I'll report back more on that book after I read it, but I just wanted to bring up that as we talk about confidence, we can leak positivity and we can leak negativity. And so being aware of it is step one to be able to make the choice of, okay, do I pay attention to it? Do I ignore it? Or do I deny it? And if you choose to pay attention to it, I promise you it will work for your benefit. Just a little bit about confidence that I wanted to hit on. Really love the idea of confidence. We'll probably be talking about confidence in future episodes as well, because it's just such a huge topic and it's so impactful. And there are so many different nuances to how we read confidence in others and how we can control and display confidence ourselves and how to make it more natural, right? So what I'm talking about is being aware of it and working on it. But the more you work on it, the more natural it becomes over time. So we'll leave you with that on the idea of confidence. But going into confidence, and one of my next quotes that I really enjoy says, "The better you dress, the worse you can behave." And part of that probably comes with, because the better you dress, the more confidence you have. But also, the better you dress, the more people will give you the benefit of the doubt that you are a good person. And the person I could find the attribution of this quote to is Fred Castleberry. And I had no idea who Fred Castleberry was. So I looked it up in preparation for this episode with you guys. I wanted to do my research. I wanted to be learned. I wanted to find the background. I found some really interesting things that Fred Castleberry was a designer, or he worked at Polo as a background, went out on his own and started his own clothing brand in New York City. It's, from what I can tell, a little bit of an edgy brand. If you couldn't tell by the quote, their tagline. So I found out it's not just a quote, but this is actually their tagline. F.E. Castleberry, if you've heard of them or you want to go and research and leave me feedback that I'm either on the right track or I missed something. But F.E. Castleberry, their motto is, "The better you dress, the worse you can behave." And they say that right on their website, right with at the end of a lot of their videos that they've posted. And, I think to a certain extent, there's some truth in that, but there's also a threshold. And this is where the irony of it all comes in. I also found articles about Fred Castleberry being in prison because he didn't pay child support to his ex-wife, racking up hundreds of thousands of dollars of back due debt. Doesn't matter how well you dress. It doesn't excuse poor behavior or ungentlemanly behavior. Kind of, again, another tongue-in-cheek saying, the better you dress, the worse you can behave. When you think about it, yes, there's an extent there, but don't tip over that threshold into forgetting about being a gentleman. Obviously, your legal obligations and other debts aren't going to be excused just because you dress well. You certainly don't want to turn into a con man in that sense. And I'm not saying that this person is a con man who has the saying, but I heard somebody recently talk about custom clothing, and we just had this whole discussion on confidence, and somebody else would say, well, what I actually sell is confidence. And that's literally the definition of a con man. So while yes, we instill confidence and we help increase confidence, we are not just selling confidence. We are selling improvement in somebody's life and the way that they feel through the clothing that they wear and the way they choose to present themselves. I had to laugh when I was doing the research on this quote, and because I did have an attribution of it from where I originally saw it, and I really just couldn't help but say, wow, yeah, you just can't do those things when you have legal obligations and you choose not to be a gentleman and you choose not to show up the right way. But if you are being a gentleman in all of your other behaviors, you can probably get away with a little bit of misbehavior along the way if you're dressed better. So to wrap up this conversation, I just have two more quotes to share with you quickly. The first says, paying attention to what you wear is a sign of respect for the other person. And it's really a sign of respect for the situation, also a sign of respect for yourself. We talk about time. I've talked about it at probably every single episode. If I haven't yet this episode, thank you for sharing your time with me. Thank you for taking the time to give the feedback that you've already given and that I've been receiving through the last 3 to 4 months of launching this show. I really appreciate it. It's helped make me better. And I hope that it keeps growing the way it has. It's really been phenomenal and humbling to see. Time, right? It's a respect of time. It's a respect for the other person. It's a respect for their expertise. It's a respect for they're taking the time to meet with you, to spend with you, to be with you, because their time is valuable. Your time is valuable. And without the respect of that time, the relationship can't grow. Dressing well and presenting well is a sign of respect for the other person's time. That was said by Carlos Huber. The last, of course, gentlemanly thing of this conversation is being a true gentleman never goes out of fashion. And so I'm going to wrap it up with that today we took some quotes that we were inspired by and just kind of went into some conversation and spitballed around it a little bit. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a comment below. Every piece of feedback helps us get this out to more people who need to think about what a man in a well-dressed suit is to a woman and what a woman in lingerie is to a man. So thank you for your time. We're going to wrap up there. Like, subscribe, follow. We appreciate all of the support, and I will see you guys next week.